Terms of trade. If you don't set the rules, your customers will. Welcome back to the Hey Tradies podcast. I'm Amanda Fleming from Virtual Coastie, helping tradies get systems sorted, get paid faster, and hopefully get a few evenings back along the way. Now, today's episode was inspired by a local community Facebook post that absolutely blew up online this week. And honestly, the comment sections turned into exactly the kind of debate I see happening inside trades businesses every single day. The original post basically said, pay your tradies invoices the minute you receive them. It could very well be the difference between a small business surviving or not. And from there, the comments went wild. Some people were fully supportive. Others were basically saying, if the invoice says 7 or 14-day terms, I'm paying on day 7 or 14, and technically they're not wrong. If those are the terms you set, those are the terms you agreed to. But the conversation really highlighted something important. As a business owner, you get to decide the terms you work under. Not the customer, you. And I think a lot of tradies forget that, especially when cash flow gets tight and you start operating from fear instead of systems. So today we're talking about terms of trade, payment expectations, deposits, service fees, and why being clear upfront protects both your cash flow and your sanity. Now, some of the comments were pretty blunt. One person said, your money looks better in my bank account. And honestly, that comment triggered people. Because from a trades business owner's perspective, that feels disrespectful. You've already done the work, paid the wages, paid the suppliers, used fuel, spent time, and then you're waiting weeks to actually get paid. But here's the thing, another commenter said something important too. If the invoice says 7 or 14-day terms, I'm paying on the 7th or the 14th day. And again, they're technically correct. If you offered 14-day terms, you can't really be upset when someone pays day 14. That's the agreement. So this isn't really about customers being bad. It's about businesses setting terms that actually work for them. Big companies often absorb slow payments better. Small businesses can't, especially trades businesses, because cash flow moves fast. You've got wages weekly, supplier accounts, fuel, materials, GST, vehicles, subcontractors. And often you've already spent the money before the invoice even gets sent. That's why payment delays hurt so much. Not because trades are greedy, but because the costs happen immediately. You get to choose your terms. This is the biggest thing I want tradies to understand. You're allowed to set boundaries in your business. You're allowed to decide deposits, payment timing, service fees, quoting processes, call-out fees, overdue fees, invoice frequency, and no, that won't suit everyone. That's okay. Not every customer is your customer. What matters is being clear, communicating upfront, being consistent. That's the important bit. Stop hiding the payment expectations. One thing I see all the time is businesses being weirdly nervous about talking about payment. They avoid the conversation completely and then get upset later when the customer doesn't magically behave how they hoped. But customers aren't mind readers. You need to clearly explain when invoices are due, whether deposits are required, whether payment is due on completion, what happens with larger projects, what your process actually is, before the work starts, not afterwards. Payment on completion. Now, personally, I think a lot more maintenance tradies should move towards payment on completion. especially residential maintenance, because think about it. Most other industries already work like this. Mechanics, hairdressers, restaurants, supermarkets. You don't walk out and pay 3 weeks later. And technology now makes it so much easier. Fergus has payment integrations. You can take card payments on site. You can invoice before leaving the driveway. And honestly, that's where I think the industry is heading. Now, yes, some customers won't like that, but a lot actually expect it now, especially residential clients. Deposits are not rude. This is another thing that came up in the comments. Someone said maybe businesses should take payment before they start. And honestly, sometimes they should, especially larger jobs, special order materials, high-risk clients, project work. A 50% deposit is not unreasonable. It protects your cash flow, it protects your supplier costs, and it creates commitment from the customer. Because if someone pushes back aggressively against a reasonable deposit, sometimes that's a red flag in itself. Service fees and minimum call-outs. Another thing tradies are often scared to do, charge properly for their time. If someone wants an urgent call-out, there may be a minimum charge, there may be a service fee, and that's okay. Because you're not just charging for the 10 minutes on site, you're charging for travel, tools, experience, scheduling disruption, overheads, admin, and if you don't charge properly, you end up busy but broke. Terms only work if you enforce them. This is the hard bit, because some tradies set terms and then completely ignore them. They say payment due on completion and then wait 3 weeks to send the invoice. Or 50% deposit required and then start without it anyway. Systems only work if you actually follow them. And your customers learn very quickly whether your boundaries are real. Communication fixes most of this. One thing I've learned over the years, most payment issues are actually communication issues. Not always. Some people genuinely do take the piss, but often they don't understand the process. They forgot. They expected account terms. The invoice went missing. Nobody followed up. Clear communication solves a huge amount of drama. This is about cash flow. At the end of the day, this entire conversation comes back to cash flow, because cash flow stress changes everything. It affects decision-making, stress levels, family life, supplier relationships, growth, sleep. And one of the easiest ways to improve cash flow is tightening your payment process, not just working harder. This week, review your terms of trade. Ask yourself, are they clear? Are they realistic? Are you communicating them upfront? Are they actually helping your cash flow? Need deposits. Should you move to payment on completion? Do your invoices clearly state payment expectations? Because if customers are constantly paying late, sometimes the problem isn't the customer, it's the process. And if you're listening to this thinking, honestly, Amanda, our payment systems are all over the place, that's exactly the kind of thing we help tradies with. Whether it's tightening up invoicing processes, implementing Fergus properly, setting up payment workflows, improving accounts receivable, or building systems that help you get paid faster. That's what we do, because you shouldn't be constantly stressed about cash flow while doing good work. If you want help cleaning up your systems, book a power hour or chat with us about monthly support. Catch you in the next episode. If you got something out of today's episode, do me a favour and share it with another tradie. And if you're enjoying the podcast, a quick follow or rating on your favourite podcast app goes a long way. It helps more tradies find the show and get their business sorted.